Sometimes you just gotta get angry. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video so you never miss any in the future, as well as going over to Mayday.show, subscribing to the newsletter, and maybe even becoming a supporter so you can get 2 bonus videos a month from ya boy. Lately, there's been a bunch of instances where hitters have been taking exception to some up and in fastballs. There are a couple prime examples of this that have happened a lot recently. Number one, Mike Trout wasn't very happy with Mariners pitcher Casey Legumina after he hit him on the hand this past weekend. Unfortunately, Brian Wu plunked him earlier in the shoulder. So I get this one. I wouldn't be very happy about this either, and it is Mike Trout. At the end of the day, warranted, I think. Then we had last night where Trout's teammate Jorge Soler took exception to this high fastball from Ronaldo Lopez in his third at-bat of the night. And he decided, I'm just going to go out there and handle it. Fisticuffs. And I'll be honest, that is one big dude. Jorge Soler is a monster of a human being. So even me, being the size that I am, gonna have to get myself up to line up with that guy. I'm also soft as warm butter. That's probably the biggest reason. Another situation that becomes more understandable when you notice that in the 2 at-bats before, he homered and then was hit by the same pitcher. So I'd probably be over it at that point as well. I understand the frustration. And then the main one that I want to talk about was Willson Contreras versus the Brewers. This is important for a lot of reasons, so just let me set the scene really quick. So going into Monday's game at home in Fenway against the Brewers, it was kind of a big deal because at that point we're a 1-8 team. They simply have not been playing well. As I am well accustomed to in a couple of places that I played in, you could hear audible sell the team chants as fans who saw a really good offseason in terms of trades and in signings, going to get Ranger Suarez, bringing in Willson Contreras, bringing in Caleb Durbin. There were high hopes going into the season, especially after last year, and how it was kind of unexpected for them to have the success that they did. Things have not panned out, and the fans are mad about it, and for good reason. Ranger Suarez, who signed the 5-year, $130 million contract to be the number 2 behind Garrett Crochet, has only thrown 8 1/3 innings and allowed 8 runs. Not so great out the gate. Overall, as a team in general, they're 23rd in runs scored, they're 15th in OPS, and they're 25th in team ERA going into yesterday. They're even 24th in opponent batting average, so they're not really pitching great, and they're not really hitting at all. Maybe, just maybe, they need a spark plug to get it right. And they did get it right because the day after this little altercation between Contreras and Brandon Woodruff, which we're going to talk about in a moment, they won on the back of their ace, Garrett Crochet. But unfortunately, they're still on the bottom of the MLB standings. You do, though, have to win 1 game before you can win 2. You know what I mean? So let's talk a little bit about the Contreras situation specifically. Tempers flared on Monday when the Red Sox first baseman Willson Contreras was hit on the hand by a pitch from Brewers starter Brandon Woodruff. There is history here. That is the 6th time Brandon Woodruff has hit Willson Contreras. That's a lot. Even for a starting pitcher, even if it's a guy you've faced quite a few times because he's been in your division every single year up to this point, you know, the hit batsman numbers are going to go up naturally. But like this much, the Brewers as a whole have hit Contreras 24 times. Though it's important to recognize the fact that Willson Contreras has been hit 131 times in his career up to this point. But the Brewers are 10 more than any other team in terms of plunking him. So there is a pattern of behavior there. He's not crazy to think that it is kind of suspicious that he's constantly getting hit, but he also does tend to get hit a lot. He tends to get hit at a higher rate than most other people anyway, so that's going to be part of his game. After Contreras got hit and the play was reviewed to see that he was actually hit, and then on the next play, a force at second, Contreras decided to slide hard into second, banging into shortstop David Hamilton, who was actually in the trade with Caleb Durbin in the offseason. So he was on the Red Sox the season before, which is an interesting wrinkle in the story. He got his knee torn up and his pants torn up a little bit by a cleat raised in the air. Now, Contreras very clearly did this on purpose. He had a quote after the game. This is from Mass Live's Sean McAdam. He says, quote, "They always say, I'm not trying to hit you. That gets old. So next time they hit me, I'm going to go take one of them out." That's a message. Some might even say a threat. Interesting timing, and it's not often that you see guys actually admit their intent in an interview after the game. So it seems like this is something that he felt, and he was like, I don't care, I'm not keeping this in, I'm sick of it, and I'm gonna keep this energy up, okay? Brandon Woodruff also had a comment after the game to MLB.com's Adam McCalvey. He said, I mean, we've been through that. It's been 9 years for me. It seems like every year, Woodruff said, he's trying to play a game, and he's trying to get his side fired up, which is fine. Once I knew what was going on, though, I wasn't going to let it affect me. It comes down to, yes, there was barking. Yes, Wilson Contreras seemed to not let it go and seemed to keep on keeping that fire up. And there's two kind of big questions here that we need to answer, right? Was the hit batsman on purpose, and is Contreras really this angry, or is he trying to fire up his team? Let's start with the first one. Why is he getting hit? Is he getting hit on purpose? I don't think so. I think it's mostly because he just doesn't like inside pitches very much. Now, this is Wilson Contreras' ex-WOBA versus right-handed hitters, okay? Ex-WOBA is your likelihood that a pitch you hit is going to be hit hard and for damage. So, double, hard hit singles, doubles, home runs, like the chances that it becomes a high value type of hit. This is inside. Seeing a difference between outside and inside here, it's just a good strategy against Wilson Contreras because he is a hard-nosed player, he is an emotional player, and he loves to crowd the plate and try to bully you. He does this thing, I experience it myself, where he comes in, even if you have no history with this guy, you throw a first pitch, anything, and he swings as hard as he can and gives you a little stare, just to kind of establish his dominance. It's a common thing. Pitchers do it too. You know, John Lackey used to do it on the mound. He'd stare at you and try to get you to back down a little bit, or at least be cowed a little bit so that he could give himself more space to work. Wilson Contreras does that in the batter's box, but because of that, because he's so far up on the plate, it makes getting to inside pitches hard. So guys throw him in a lot. When that happens, the chances that you get grazed or touched or uncomfortable go way up. So that's a big part of it. It's the way that you pitch to Wilson Contreras. Then when he acts the way he does, when he seems bothered by it a lot, that makes pitchers want to do it more. Not only that, when it's a guy that you're like kind of tired of watching have antics, you tend to not care as much if a ball gets away either. That doesn't mean you're hitting them on purpose, but you tend to not feel as bad if a pitch does go 6 inches farther than you want it and gets him. You hit that pitch, I'm not giving you that pitch, so here you go. So in reality, it's just a combination of the Brewers don't really care if they hit him, and they're not going to get off of their process of throwing him in. I mean, he does get hit by other teams too. Maybe the Brewers have taken that to another level, and maybe there has been some more purposeful than not hits in the past or hit batters in the past. Maybe that has happened, but this time it just didn't make sense for the situation. Woodruff did not look comfortable, and he's just trying to get the guy to hit the ball softly so he doesn't give up some runs. Wilson Contreras is one of the better hitters on this team, so he's a guy you need to get out, and I think that's what it came down to. But does it fire your team up? Really depends on the situation. I don't know about this one, especially because David Hamilton, who was a good teammate and everyone seemed to like him in that clubhouse, was the guy receiving end of some of the retaliation or maybe perceived retaliation. Maybe that softened the blow a little bit, but it does seem that Garrett Crochet took this extra energy, even if it wasn't directly associated with the actual event that happened, took it in his next outing, put the team on his back, and got them back on the horse here. We'll have to see if it lasts, but in the short term, being able to come back, win a game, it might be something we're looking back at the end of the season, that was a time where we stopped the skid and we move forward. That does happen regularly. I can attest to that directly. Sometimes you just need a fire lit in a way that isn't related to performance on the field as much, that kind of resets the camaraderie in the clubhouse, because it's every single day you can walk in. And if the expectation when you walk in that door is that, I don't know if we're going to win today, if it's that versus we're winning today, that is a huge difference. That expectation over 162 days, 162 games is so important to have. That's where this comes in to play, and that is something that happens. Now, what about those Angels guys mentioned before? Why were they hit? Was any of this on purpose? Like, are we trying to go up and get Soler because he took us deep early in the game? Are we trying to go in and get Trout out of the game because he's killing us? Like, what are we doing? Well, I went and looked. Turns out Jorge Soler doesn't handle in as well either. And this is also a situation where you got to get in there on him. You got to make him uncomfortable because it's hard for him to get the barrel on those balls. So you have to get him off that so you can then beat him down here. Like, that is the way you do it. And that's what Reynaldo Lopez was doing, though he had hit him once and then he threw a ball almost over his head. That's a little bit much. It doesn't look good for sure, especially after you gave up a home run. But it also is the way that you're supposed to throw to him. And what about Trout? Big hole up and in. Only hole he ever had. I knew this about him as well. You got to stand him up so you can go soft and get it down below his bat. But he drops the bat better than anybody. I think the Legumina one was definitely just a misfire. And, you know, I wouldn't count on Brian Wu hitting too many people. He's got some of the best command in the league. So I just think he was frustrated by the situation that he got hit in the hand. He already gets hurt all the time. He doesn't want to get out of games. I think it was mostly that. But again, these two situations could light a little fire behind the Los Angeles Angels, who are currently in second in the West. Like, they are a perennial underperformer. So we'll see how this affects them as well. They stood up for their guys. They had a full-on swinging match last night. So it could be something that they push forward and turn into a good season. But we'll have to wait and see, I guess. All right, a couple little pieces of news that I wanted to touch on really quickly because there's been a lot of conversation about them over the weekend, and that is Jo Adell robbing 3 home runs against the Mariners to preserve a 1-0 lead. So this was amazing for a lot of reasons. A lot of people have talked about this. These were all legitimate robbed homers, with the final one being a J.P. Crawford into the corner, into the short box, and then we got Jo Adell going into the stands to bring this one back and having the most, I don't know what's going on either, guys, but I'm the man look on his face, which I love to see that, even though it's against my hometown team. I mean, you can't discount seeing incredible performances like this. Now, Jo Adell, you know, was on a short list for winning a Gold Glove in 2024. He is no slouch in the outfield. He looks like a man who might be a bat-first guy, but we might be seeing Jo Adell take another step forward like we did last year and become a legit threat on a major league diamond. That is good to see, and I love it. But outside of what actually happened, because one interesting kind of side product of this is the Mariners are off to a slow start. Cal Raleigh's off to a slow start. Naylor is off to a slow start, and so is J.P. Crawford, and all of them got 1 homer taken away, which maybe would have got them going a little bit more had any of these got over the fence. But there was an interesting question from DK about this situation that we saw in our Discord, and I think was being asked a whole lot on social media. That question is, should it count as an out if a player goes over the fence completely with the ball and their feet leave the ground like Adell did in the 9th inning with Crawford? I think it should. And let me explain, okay? It should because of the way that stadiums are built, all right? Basically, the fence is brought almost as close to the fair territory as possible in a lot of places because of the viewing experience. The fans want to feel like they're part of it. It's like hockey. And that's an important part of the experience of baseball, that a fan, you know, might have a player make contact with them or be able to interact with them somehow. That's like a special thing that baseball does that other sports don't as much. 2, the outfield fences, right? They're all very high. So if you climb one and you go over and rob a homer, there's really no way to keep your foot down. So then how do we change the rule in order to do it? Is it like you have to keep your whole body, you're not allowed to touch the ground on the other side? Maybe that is a change of the rule, but I don't really think it changes anything in any meaningful way, only if we're worried about there being cheating behind the wall where we can't see them like grab the ball and put it in their glove or something, which is not a concern here. We institute a rule where you gotta have feet on the ground. No one can rob anything in the outfield unless all the fences are brought down. Is that what we wanna do? I don't think so. To put it bluntly, I think this is put together the best that possibly can be put together in order to make it as fair as possible and also be able to maintain the fan experience, the proximity to the field, and the unique, I think, dimensions of the field's walls and how they're built. Like, it just creates that uniqueness. In order to maintain that uniqueness without having to change anything, we got to keep the rule the way it is. So I think this is what we need to have it as, and I think guys going in the stands is fun to watch. So let's just keep it that way, maybe. That's my take. And then we have the Tampa Bay Rays moving back to the beautiful Trop, after 561 days away. As we know, last year they played in George Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, where the Yankees play for spring training. That is outdoors in Florida. That sucks. Hurricane Milton did a number on this thing, and honestly, myself and many other people thought there's no way they have this ready for this year. So kudos to them. The Trop is back. It is up and running, even though it has been a constant conversation of like, how do we fix this thing? How do we make this stadium better? We've been having this conversation forever. It seemed like a great excuse to make that decision now, but it turns out we'd rather just fix this one than get a new one. Monday, beat the Cubs 6-4 in front of a sellout crowd. Sellout crowd in the Trop. Sometimes you got to get your stadium ripped to shreds in order to get a sellout in your stadium. The best part about this whole story is the quote from Eric Neander, the Rays president of baseball operations, via MLB.com's Adam Berry. A lot of time was spent talking about what was wrong with the Trop when we were there. And then we left. And a lot more spent on what was right with the Trop as we go back. That's a great point. Again, sellout crowd, pretty nice. In reference to the amenities at Steinbrenner Field, I've stayed in hotel rooms that are nicer than my house, but home's still home. That part got me a little bit because, you know, I have also stayed in hotels that are nicer, but it is also funny that he references a team's spring training facility as nicer than their big league facilities. Just putting this there, and you can think what you want to think. Another fun little story before we go. We talked last week about new Twitter accounts taking MLB Twitter over by storm. MLB scoregamis, where the scores are unique and they've never been seen before. There's been a lot of games in the past. This was really popular in football, so it's funny, we're not going to really be able to see that many, but now they're featuring a new account tweeting about statistical oddities for pitchers called Pitchergami. This one's interesting, which says whether or not a pitcher has ever recorded this unique line. That's innings pitched, hits, earned runs, walks, and strikeouts. Now there are a shocking amount of unique lines, or Pitchergamis. A recent example came in yesterday's Mariners-Angels game when Angels pitchers George Klassen, in his MLB debut, pitched 2.2 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 5 walks, and 4 Ks. That is a crazy line. Now I need to go back and look to see if my Major League debut line of 2 innings, 4 hits, 4 runs, 7 walks, and no strikeouts has ever happened before or after I did it. I highly doubt anyone ever did that before I did. So I'll let you know next time. I'm not quite sure. Anyways, don't forget to like and subscribe. This is how Mayday is going to work from now on. Pay attention for all these videos. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel because you will miss them if you don't do that. And don't forget, drink your water, watch your baseball. See you next time on Mayday. Peace.